Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited about today's conversation. Today's guest is Phil Moore, founder of GizmoData. Phil has spent more than 2 decades building enterprise data solutions, was recognized as Oracle's DBA of the Year for North America, and has been deeply involved in pushing the boundaries of modern analytics infrastructure, from Oracle and Snowflake environments to helping pioneer new approaches around DuckDB, Apache Arrow, and high-performance analytics platforms. Today, he's building GizmoData, the company behind Gizmo SQL and Gizmo Edge. Phil, thanks for joining me.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Most welcome. Let's start with you sharing with us your background and then take us to your current role and solutions.
Yeah, that's great. I've been working in data engineering and data warehousing industry for 25 years plus. Started my career right after I got out of the United States Marines at Procter & Gamble, where I started as like a QA analyst in what was called the Report Factory at the time in the year 2000. And I was introduced to Oracle database technology at the time and really just fell in love with relational database technology, including SQL and writing reports and developing data solutions. And I just kept iterating and trying to improve my skills. Eventually, I went to Hewlett Packard as part of an outsourcing deal from P&G and worked there for a few more years and became the lead DBA for their financial data warehouse. So just feel really fortunate to have a lot of great experience there. After that, I continued my journey. I went to a company called dunnhumby USA in Cincinnati. And there I was introduced to customer loyalty analytics and much larger data volumes than I was used to at P&G, which was really shocking to me. I thought millions of rows was a lot of data at the time. And I get to dunnhumby, and they had Kroger as a customer to do their customer loyalty analytics. And we were dealing with billions upon billions of rows of data. And the technology at the time was not well equipped to handle that. So I was fortunate to be involved in a bake-off where we brought in several technologies, and we did a bake-off between like Redshift and Oracle and some other technologies at the time. Things like Snowflake weren't really around yet, so we couldn't use those cloud products yet. And at the time, Oracle Exadata kind of won the bake-off, and we ran on Oracle for a while, and this is like 2011, 2012 timeframe. Fast forward a little bit, I went to a company called 8451 by virtue dunnhumby split. And so we were wholly owned by Kroger at the time. So continuing my journey there, and I was really in love with Oracle because I had been working with it for 15, 16 years. And I was kind of hesitant to change horses, if you know what I mean. So I was introduced to other technologies reluctantly. And so I started dabbling in some open source things, like this thing called Hadoop was introduced. And of course, fast following was Spark. So I started working with Spark technologies, and then some more commercial cloud products. The cloud was taking off. We had a big deal with Google Cloud Platform and also with Azure. So I started working with Snowflake and Databricks technologies. And so I just kind of gradually moved away from the Oracle stack and moved to the more open source and cloud products. In 2022, I left there and went to a company called Voltron Data, a startup in Silicon Valley, and I worked remote, but I was introduced to this really cool open source technology called Apache Arrow. And it really opened my eyes because you had this universal data format that you could share between systems of different architectures and platforms, and it was all universal. So it was really eye-opening. And I also was introduced to DuckDB, actually a little bit before that, but putting the two together seemed really magical to me, and that's kind of where I got the idea for Gizmo SQL, was that while at Voltron Data. Voltron Data is no longer with us, but the things I learned there were immensely valuable and helped me create my company in 2024. So in 2024, I created GizmoData and initially just focused on consulting and helping clients be successful with commercial products like Snowflake or Databricks or Oracle. But I realized that, hey, I had this product that I had kind of thought of that put Arrow and DuckDB together. And I forked the project that I created at Voltron Data and called it Gizmo SQL because it was open source, and Voltron Data is no longer with us. And so I have really pushed the envelope with that product because it performs terabyte scale analytics for extremely low cost. And I'm really excited about that.
How about you? I mean, you've been doing a lot of things, but that was very good summarized. And please also share a bit, what are some typical clients you have now and like services that you offer for them?
Oh, yeah, sure. So on the consulting side, I've got a couple of clients. One is Great American Insurance, Cincinnati. I help them with Oracle. technology. Another one is Vaden Automotive in Savannah, Georgia. I help them with Snowflake and DBT. So we have a whole solution around taking their data from automotive sales and transforming it through DBT and loading it into Snowflake, and actually using AI to a degree to help them gain insights on, what models of vehicles should they focus on selling, what colors are selling best, helping them forecast and predict what things to sell more. On the software side, GizmoSQL, I have a few customers that I have a lot of open source customers. So there
Hmm.
are 100,000 plus downloads of GizmoSQL. The client is downloaded thousands of times per month. So really, I feel blessed about that. There's a core edition, which is open source. There's an enterprise edition, which is paid. I have a few enterprise edition customers. One is Summation. They are an AI company out in Seattle, and they help their customers with AI financials. So they help find insights in financial data, help you close your books and things of that nature. And they use GizmoSQL extensively throughout their infrastructure and routinely load billions of rows and query terabytes of data actively every day. So really, I was fortunate to have them as one of my first customers because they stress tested GizmoSQL, helped me find the problems very fast.
Yes.
And that's a good thing because you want to find those early. And they were patient with me and helped me to find those issues, and we fixed them, and it's been working great since December for them.
Great. How do you attract these? Are these people from your net, like that you worked with? That's how you got them as clients, or how do you attract new enterprise clients?
Really good question. So I've been very fortunate. A couple of them found me. So I think Summation had reached out to Duck Labs, which are the creators of DuckDB, and they wanted a server-based product for DuckDB. And DuckDB didn't have any sort of products like that at the time, and so they referred them to me. So I was very fortunate to be referred. And another customer found me on the DuckDB Discord. So it was like just very lucky on both circumstances. So, and then I have just recently begun to start marketing. I have,
Mhm.
I am the world's worst marketer, world's worst advertiser. I'm trying to do that now and trying to grow the business, but I'm just now starting on that journey. So,
Yeah.
but I do a lot of LinkedIn social posting,
Mhm.
and I've had a few engagements there, but I have not done much marketing at all. So I'm just starting that.
Yeah, yeah, no, great. I have some ideas we can discuss in a different on a different topic, but I mean your product probably stands a lot on its own then, like that, which is great, which is a great sign. I actually want to circle back into where you were. Like when I look at Gizmo SQL, what stands out is the focus on delivering enterprise grade analytics while dramatically reducing complexity and cost. And yeah, you talked about processing terabyte scale workloads at a fraction of the cost of traditional cloud analytics platforms. When did that vision really crystallize for you, and what gave you confidence that there was room to challenge established players in the analytics ecosystem?
That's another good question. I think I was really shocked when I first put this thing together. I started benchmarking it because I was really skeptical that it could handle. I was skeptical of my own product at first, and I was like, I was really, can this thing really handle huge volumes of data? Because I was running it with like small volumes and it was lightning fast. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I then started to try to benchmark it at scale, and so I quickly ran out of room on my laptop to benchmark. So I started doing it in the cloud on bigger virtual machines with more resources like CPUs and memory and disk. So I started spinning up these machines that had like 64 CPUs and a half terabyte of memory and lots of storage. And so I started running these workloads. I started with TPCH scale factor, let's say 100 gigabytes, and it did amazingly well. Then I did 200, then 500, and then I did 1,000, which is a terabyte. And it not only held its own, it ran it incredibly cost efficiently. So I was running TPCH scale factor 1 terabyte for less than $0.25 in the US. And to give you a reference point, like the next closest competitor was Snowflake, and it was like, I think it was $2.74 or something. So it was literally 1/10 the cost, less than 1/10 the cost and equivalent performance. So I was like, I was dramatically shocked. I was legitimately shocked. I was like, I've got something here. I've got lightning in a bottle. Because you have the speed of DuckDB and you have the extensibility and interchangeability of Arrow Flight SQL, which means any client can talk to it across the network. And you can send this data in a columnar format across the wire. So they're getting this data. Not only is it processing extremely rapidly, but it's being transferred in an efficient, rapid manner so that you're able to use it immediately. So I
Mm.
just felt like it was lightning in a bottle, and I want to kind of share it with folks.
Yeah. I mean, it is basically, it's amazing when you create something like that. So yeah, we need to get it out there, which is obviously why we're also talking about this. It's very interesting. And going into industry trends, like what major shifts are you seeing in the industry right now?
Well, AI is changing everything, as you rightly know by the title of your podcast. It's just it's giving companies a lot more confidence to create their own software products. So that in a way, it makes folks like me our job harder because you create software oftentimes with AI. I'm actually doing this same thing. I have accelerated my own development pace with AI
Mhm,
tools such as Claude Code dramatically, and I'm able to add features what use would have taken months or even longer, like a quarter now could be compressed to a week, let's say, or less. And so it's actually amazing the scale at which we're innovating with AI tools. But that means your customers are too. So if they're
mhm,
aggressive on the AI front, they're able to craft their own software, fork open source repos, and add the features they want. So it's my hope that they'll lean on experts in the data industry to craft the features in a way that's secure, performant, extensible, and supportable. So but it does make things harder, but it also makes things better. If that makes sense.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's been a sort of other have mentioned exactly that, and also and a lot of people ship. I mean, you create something, but it's not ready to be shipped, right? Like a lot of people just create, they don't properly debug, and it's security issues, and it's like it looks really cool, but then there's like yeah, there's a lot of stuff underneath that that doesn't work. But and recently you've been shipping. I mean, you mentioned that enterprise focused capabilities like workload management, observability, security controls, and governance. Many founders love building features, but enterprise customers often buy reliability and trust. How do you balance innovation with operational requirements large organizations expect?
Yeah, I got a lot. I was very fortunate to have exposure to a lot of the things that large enterprise customers require by virtue of my experience at Procter and Gamble and Kroger and places in Hewlett Packard and places like that. So I saw the things that they demanded of vendors like Oracle. I routinely worked with Oracle on issues like bug reports, feature enhancement requests, and things like that were pertinent to the businesses that I worked for. And so I got a lot of that exposure and I understood like what Oracle did to deliver to those customers. I try to apply that learning to my products as well, so that out of the gate, I provide those observability, supportability, extensibility features that enterprises that require or used to. Because in the open source community, those aren't necessarily the first thoughts. Open source
Hmm.
tool, like even like DuckDB, as great as it is and as fast as it is, it's really tailored for speed and efficiency, and that's great. I mean, everyone loves speed, but you have to have like on a race car. My favorite analogies is that speed is great, like, but if I have a Formula One race car with no brakes, that's a really bad thing. Yeah, so you gotta have those other things, a steering wheel and brakes and suspension and all the good things that keep that car safe to operate. And, so I try to keep that in mind as we build this software. And
Hmm.
so Gizmo SQL, it is, of course, focused on performance, but all those ancillary things that are necessary for an enterprise platform are
Hmm.
first and foremost.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And let's dive even a bit deeper on like what's working well for you right now, and what are some challenges you are facing in your business or solutions?
Yeah, a really good question. In terms of what's working well, I mentioned it before, but I think the AI tooling, it just keeps continuing to improve, and so I'm seeing a lot more help from AI coding assistants, from like
Mm,
Claude Code, for example, with the Opus models are getting better. And we were briefly, I think last week or the week before, we were briefly introduced to Fable, which has now been restricted, I think. So it even opened up even more capabilities for that brief time that was available. But the AI coding agents have made the coding much more rapid, and they bring along with it that thing I was mentioning where the customers can do it too.
mhm,
Uh, I'm able to pivot and to add new features much more rapidly than before, and I think that's going pretty well. And be able to add those enterprise features at a much more rapid pace than before. And in terms of challenges, I think the challenges, the moat for software development has been dramatically reduced
mhm,
because. So the thing I'm using, it's like prisoner's dilemma. You have to do it because the other guy is doing it too. So
mhm,
it's interesting, but we just have to outwork the customer, if that makes sense, in terms
mm.
of making sure you provide their needs. They don't have to use AI to build those things. It's already built for them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good. And if you could solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
Oh, wow. For me, my passion is around efficiency of cost for analytics. I know it sounds kind of niche, but I think that a lot of times, because folks don't know what's available, they'll rely on distributed compute solutions like Spark or Databricks or Snowflake to solve problems that don't necessarily need that. And because engines like DuckDB are so fast, you can get away on one computer what used to take 10, and by virtue of the efficiency of the SQL engine. And so that can dramatically reduce costs by that 10 to 1 factor I was talking about earlier. And so I'm really passionate about educating customers to know what they can do and what they can accomplish with, efficient infrastructure usage, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's one thing. And the other thing is I have this other prototype product I call Gizmo Edge, and it's a distributed engine, just what I was just talking about. But there are problems you do have to divide and conquer when you get across a certain threshold of data size. And so dividing and conquering these huge data sets is I love that problem. I love distributed computing. And so I think that, to me, the next frontier is not necessarily spinning up a lot of compute in the cloud. I think it's pushing workloads out to the edge, to IoT devices. And it doesn't
Mm.
have to be data workloads, it could be AI inference or training, but pushing those things out to the edge, because we have so much of this latent compute laying around, your laptop, your iPhone, your iPad, your smart TV, your smart refrigerator, your smart appliances. They have this compute capability, they have memory, they have storage, they have internet connection. And so they're able to process data workloads or any type of computing workload. And they sit idle 80 to 90% of the time, right? Your
Mm.
iPhone is on a charger at night while you're sleeping. That's the perfect time to push batch processing or
Mm.
AI inference and things like that. So I'm really passionate about trying to open up that frontier, because I think it could create a new ecosystem of computing.
Yeah, yeah. I actually haven't thought about that. That is a great point. And that brings me, yeah, like where do you want to be or see yourself 12 months from now, if you
Oh,
can look into the future?
that's a really good question. I want to expand my business, and I'd love to have a production release of Gizmo Edge. Just that distributed thing I was just talking about. It's still looking for design partners for that. It is functional, it does work, but it needs a lot of hardening to become a production platform. Gizmo SQL, that is the production product, and I'd love to see more adoption of that, and just even more customers and working with them to solve even more difficult problems with it. I think those are two great advancements, and just expanding my team, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you so much, Phil. This has been incredibly valuable. Thank you for your insights and openness.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to be on here, Torben. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for our audience, thanks for tuning in and see you next time.